If you're not going to be there for yourself, then who will? I'm realizing that a lot of us are ill, and the only cure to our illness is ourselves. You are your own cure, and you are your own answer in a way. I feel like as much as I talk about how we disregard ourselves, disregard who we are and our appreciation for ourselves, the one thing I feel like we disregard is our presence, is the fact that we're here, you know. And I feel like there's a lot of things in society that sort of strip us away from that. For example, our phones. And I could say that very lightly, but I still feel like it's super prevalent. Um, like just yesterday, I stopped using my phone as much. Like I haven't even touched my phone today, and it's sort of liberating, but it's showing me how addicted we are to sort of the stimulus, and not necessarily the stimulus, but what the stimulus does for us. Like in my experience, social media, my phone, probably give me a sort of sense of validation. Something that I'm not giving to myself, and I didn't realize that vacancy until I took a step back from it. And I realized there's a lot of stuff in this world that we're giving our attention to in an effort to get something back. And you know, the longer I go on with it, the more I learn about it, the more I realize that you sort of have to let go of that. You have to let go of all those things that are um, giving you a false sense of whatever, false sense of security, and be able to give it to yourself regardless of what stimulus comes along. Because life is not necessarily just going to hand you out constant validation. It's not going to give you that constant energy or attention. And if you're not able to give it to yourself, you're going to be stuck at a point where you're craving it from other people or chasing it from other people. And that's when we get into positions that aren't necessarily beneficial to our people, our person. That's why I feel like it's very important to realize that you are your own answer. I feel like we have a lot of questions in life. We have a lot of things that cause us to go out into the world and search for certain things. And a lot of the time, those answers can be found within. You know, it's not so much, everything is internal. It's that, you relate to everything, but not everything is you. It's the way in which you perceive things, the way in which you interact with them that really matters, the way in which you react to the world. Because all we are is really the reaction. All we are is that intimate look between you and your subject. And the quicker you realize that, the quicker you realize how much control you have over your actions. And, another thing I wanted to talk about. I watched a movie called Waves. You guys should watch it. It's on Netflix. But essentially, what I got from it, because I try to get something from every movie. I just feel like everything has an underlying meaning to it. It makes it more enjoyable. But essentially, be very intentional with the way you interact with people. You never know the way it spirals out. And it also told me, like, be very intentional with the way you treat yourself. In our times of need, sometimes it's hard to get that third person perspective of ourselves and be able to tell ourselves what we need for the moment. But it's very important to try to stay grounded in those times of need. Otherwise, you're going to be left to your own devices in a way. And sometimes those devices aren't necessarily going to tend us towards something that's beneficial to us. So either, take the time to get to know yourself well enough to know what you need to do in your times of need. Like me, for example, I've been meditating for quite a while, and I've been trying to focus on making sure I was intentional with my reactions to things. And nowadays, I feel like I'm not so much reacting as I am responding. I'm taking the time to internalize the information, and sometimes that upsets some people. But I feel like it's very important to know exactly what you're doing and being intentional and conscious with the words you use, because our words are powerful. Now, I don't know if anybody tries affirmations. I don't know if anybody does something like that, but you should. It's very important to hear yourself say stuff to yourself that you might want to hear from other people or the outside world, because it's another form of giving that to yourself. We don't lack anything. You just haven't given it to yourself. It's kind of stored away. And I feel like a lot of our expression, a lot of our happiness is built upon external things, when it should just be built upon us. It's important to try to get your bearings. It's important to try to get a better understanding of not necessarily just yourself, but what makes you you. What makes you feel most like yourself. And I talked about this, like finding a way back to yourself, because that's really all it is. Once you find yourself, once you get past that discomfort into finding yourself, get past that discomfort into understanding yourself, all that's left for you to do is experience yourself. And experiencing yourself is like no other thing. And I could just be saying, I could think I know the answer, but I probably don't. But in my experience, once you get to a point where you feel like not necessarily you know yourself or understand yourself fully, because I don't feel like that ever happens, but once you get to a point where your comfort for yourself grows beyond your discomfort and disdain for new experiences, that's when life becomes life. That's when you can go out and do things and see how they interact with you, see how they make you feel, and base your next actions off of that, but not making the same mistakes, but just continually learning more and more about yourself until you get to a point where you kind of know what you want. Once you know a specific desire you want, you hold that deeply in your heart, you hold it in your mind, you write it out, you do whatever you can, you write it on paper before it comes in reality, and you do the necessary steps you need to do in order to get there. You also, posit some self-belief, posit some belief in self that you can achieve that something and get to it, and maybe map out a few steps to start, but whatever you're doing, make sure it's tending towards that something, and make sure your feelings are tending towards that something. I realize it's very important to know how you feel. It's very important to be intentional with the way you feel as well. And Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret, he talks about, success and how it's easily attained. Like, a lot of people aren't successful not because they don't have aspirations, but because they don't posit that positivity and posit that worth in themselves. Earl goes on to say that it's about holding that image of you achieving your goal and that feeling of you achieving the goal in your heart for at least 30 days. And once you do it, you'll see something unfold. I can't say that it's necessarily true. It worked in my experience, I can't lie, but holding on to that is a little difficult. I think it's difficult not because of that, it's because of the distractions, the things outside of us that sort of take away our energy. And that's why I stress in the beginning that you have to realize the answer is you. I feel like a lot of times we look for stuff externally that we shouldn't, because it's not us. You're looking for yourself in things that aren't you. Now you can find yourself in things that aren't you. It's a weird dichotomy. You can find yourself in the sense that when we're relating to people, we're relating to parts of ourselves in a way. When we're relating to something, we're relating to parts of ourselves. But I'm not saying you can find a full self, in a partial person. If that makes any sense. All in all, this is all to say that, you as an individual, you as a person, have more power to help yourself than anyone else. And I know I made a video the other day literally similar to this, but a lot different words. But it's very important to understand that you have the power in your own life. You're sculptor and sculpture, patient and physician. You have to make sure you're willing to give up the things that make you sick. You can't heal yourself if you're constantly poisoning yourself. You could be your cure, but you can also be your undoing. It's the relationship between both. We're sick, we're healthy, we're happy, we're sad, and those things are okay. But whenever it comes into our control, it's about the choices we make. Because a lot of us are addicted to our sadness in a way. A lot of us are addicted to feeling in general. And whatever our most prevalent feeling is, we most likely will go with it. You have to learn how to shift your most prevalent feeling into, something more positive. And let it be etched onto your being, so no matter what situation, no matter what happens in your life, you are that positive, good person. You know what? I feel like life is a lot better that way. And I feel like I got to that point. I'm getting back to it. But like early January, February, it literally felt like I was on a cloud. Like, I was just happy. And that's because I was doing the things I needed to do to get there. I was writing out my affirmations. I was intentionally trying to hold on to high vibrational sense, like making sure my spirits were up, making sure my energy was up, making sure my feelings, I was feeling good, making sure I was telling myself things I'm grateful for, just to have that gratitude aspect of it, ground myself in a reality that what I'm receiving is good and sufficient, and who I am is good and sufficient. But also at the same time realizing that there's room for more. Once you're grateful for a lot of things, the world gives you more stuff to be grateful for. You attract what you are. You're grateful for something, you hold on to those positive things will happen. You will happen. And I think the quicker we get to that, quicker we attempt to understand it, the quicker we get to our goals. And if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. If it didn't help you, it helped me. I'm really glad you guys are here. It's one of them ones, I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoyed this topic. What else was I about to say? Be intentional. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. I'm gonna try to stream in the next 2 days. I've been uploading a lot of my podcasts on the Spotify. I'm about to do some now, actually. So go check those out if you're working out, you're doing something. I appreciate those of you who take the time to do that. I appreciate those of you who take your time to make it this far in the video. And I'm sorry I've been sort of catfishing y'all at the end. It won't happen again. I'll just lead into a new topic next time. I'll just end it off and say bye or something like that. All in all, thank y'all for being y'all. Keep being y'all. It's a beautiful summer ahead of us. Beautiful time. If you're not in school, even if you're at home, even if you're on your regular work schedule, take this time, take the good weather, take whatever you need to do to get back to yourself and hold on to it, because it's very important to just